Heartwarming moment. Waitress exposes billionaire's insults with incredible response. Discover the truth behind the facade. Inside the bustling diner, euphoria crackled in the air, laughter mingling with the scent of sizzling bacon and fresh coffee. Sarah, a tireless single mother, navigated the maze of tables, a bright smile masking the daily grind of her double shifts. At just 32, she was a warrior in an apron, driven by the fierce love she had for her 6-year-old daughter, Emily, who sat at the counter, filling pages with vibrant crayons. Today, however, the safety of their small-town haven felt threatened. Demar Hargrove, the local billionaire with a reputation for arrogance, swept in like a storm and instantly altered the atmosphere. His presence smothered the diner with contempt, his condescending remarks echoing like a crash of thunder. "What are you all doing here? Shouldn't you be working harder?" he mocked, ensconced in his privilege while he ordered a lavish meal. The warm chatter turned icy, regulars visibly shrinking under the weight of his disdain. As Sarah approached him, her gut twisted with each snide comment that dripped from his lips. "Why don't you get a real job?" he sneered, eliciting a few stifled gasps from other diners. Each word jabbed at her heart, reminding her of the struggles her mom faced and the dreams her father never realized. Was her fight in this diner worth the ridicule? Her estranged brother often pushed her to leave it all behind for a better life, but she clung to the hope that her work here mattered. In a corner booth, an elderly couple exchanged sympathetic glances with each other, their hearts heavy for Sarah. It was a scene mothers had experienced too often, triumph mingled with sorrow. Meanwhile, Emily continued to color, oblivious to the battle brewing between her mother and the heartless billionaire. Sarah felt her resolve shaking, but knew she had to shield her daughter from that darkness. When the moment arrived, a fire ignited within her. Sarah stepped forward, her heart hammering but her voice unwavering. "Excuse me, Mr. Hargrove," she began, drawing the attention of the entire diner. "You may think your wealth defines success, but I stand here because of the sacrifices of my family. My mother worked tirelessly for dreams she never got to fulfill. I won't let you demean us." The silence that enveloped the diner was electric. Sarah couldn't ignore the tears prickling her eyes. She could almost feel her parents beside her, urging her on. Their struggles, their hopes, poured out as she passionately revealed the truth behind her ambition. Just then, the door swung open, and a young woman, Mr. Hargrove's daughter, stepped in, her face a mask of distress. The air thickened with tension. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As Sarah locked eyes with her daughter, she felt a surge of hope. Would Mr. Hargrove catch a glimpse of the empathy buried beneath his wealth? The tension swirled, leaving everyone on edge, waiting for the next act in this unfolding drama of dignity, family, and the true measure of success. What would happen next? And would this confrontation challenge the very foundation of their lives? The truth behind the facade. The atmosphere in the diner shifted again. Mr. Hargrove's daughter, Lila, stood frozen just inside the door, her gaze darting over the crowd as if she could sense the tension. It was a palpable thing, hanging in the air like the smell of fresh pie cooling on the counter. Sarah's heart raced. She could feel all eyes on her, tying their emotions to her own vivid resolve. "Dad, we thought you said you'd come home early." Lila finally broke the silence, her voice shaky yet firm. She took a deep breath, stepping forward, desperation etched across her features. I didn't want you to embarrass us again." Mr. Hargrove's face hardened for just a moment. Anger flickered in his eyes. Then he quickly masked it with a dismissive huff. "I'm not here to be scolded by you, Lila. There's nothing wrong with calling out laziness when I see it." He shot back, eyes slicing through Sarah like a knife. The crowd reacted with murmurs and shocked gasps. They were no longer just spectators. They were part of a rising tide against the billionaire's condescension. Emily, who had been quietly drawing, looked up, her innocent confusion radiating from her small frame. She could sense the frustration, The air felt charged, like before a summer thunderstorm. "Dad, listen," Lila insisted, her voice gaining strength. "These people work hard for their living. You need to understand. You never take the time to see past your riches. You think money means you can take shots at everyone? You're more than this." Mirroring Lila's frustration, Sarah's chest swelled with a fierce sense of solidarity. "That's right. When you look down on us, you're looking down on people who are doing their best," she added, feeling emboldened. "We all face struggles. We're not lazy, we just choose to fight." Mr. Hargrove's smile faltered just a flicker before he laughed, trying to dismiss their words like pesky flies. "Pride doesn't pay the bills, does it? You should know that, Lila." Blinded by emotion, "You forget who we are," he sneered. Lila stepped closer to her father, her voice dropping to a fierce whisper. "No, Dad. I'm not blinded. I see everything clearly. You can't keep belittling people without consequences," she said, a crack in her voice revealing genuine hurt. Sarah marveled at Lila's bravery, feeling a connection blossoming between them amidst the chaos. As Mr. Hargrove processed his daughter's words, the tension shifted again. The diner's regulars began to nod, exchanging glances and showing their support with murmurs of agreement. A very fragile solidarity was forming, infusing the diner with a sense of unity, a shared resolve against the disrespect and derision that had blown through like a cold wind. That moment, Sarah sensed a change not just in the atmosphere, but in the very foundation of their lives. Their struggles now lit the path forward, illuminating hearts that had felt heavy for too long. Could this confrontation change not only the dynamics in the diner, but the way Mr. Hargrove and his daughter viewed the world around them? Just then, as Sarah prepared to speak again, a familiar face appeared at the entrance, a tall man, rugged and strong, who had once been part of their town. His entrance drew all attention, curiosity mounting even deeper as emotions surged. Could he hold the key to understanding, or would he bring more challenges to this already tumultuous moment? The diner held its breath, awaiting his next move. The tall man's presence was like a whirlwind that swept through the diner. Marcus, once a local hero, had left town years ago to chase dreams beyond their small community. His rugged features bore the marks of life's hardships and triumphs. The weathered skin told stories of sun-soaked days spent laboring in fields and nights lost in thought. The diner fell into a hush, drinking in every detail as he walked toward the counter. "Marcus." Lila's voice broke the silence, a mix of surprise and joy. She ran to him, throwing her arms around him tightly. "We thought you were gone for good." He chuckled, the sound rich and deep. "Thought you'd never see me again, huh?" As he pulled back, his gaze flickered to the tension still hanging like a heavy curtain in the air. "What is going on? I can cut the atmosphere with a knife." Sarah felt a flutter in her chest. Marcus had always been someone people gravitated toward for his honesty and insight. "Your father's here, Lila. And, well, it's complicated," she said, casting a glance at Mr. Hargrove, who stood still, a mix of surprise and annoyance on his face. Marcus turned, his expression sharpening as he noticed the billionaire glowering at the crowd. "Mr. Hargrove," he greeted him with an edge, swallowing the familiarity they'd once had in their past. "How's your empire treating you?" Mr. Hargrove scoffed. "Not that it concerns someone like you. You've been out of this town too long to understand anything," he shot back, dismissing Marcus with a wave as if he were merely a trivial annoyance. But Marcus stood his ground. "Actually, I understand a hell of a lot more than you think. I know what it means to struggle for every dime. I know what hard work looks like, too," he replied sharply. The diner stirred again, people's heads turned, eager for more. "Today," he continued, raising his voice just enough, "I came back because I wanted to lend my hand to those who have always given theirs, the folks in this diner, the community that made me." A ripple of encouragement flowed through the gathering as those who had supported one another in small ways felt the unity growing stronger. Marcus locked eyes with Sarah for a brief second, their shared understanding passing between them, igniting the sense of hope in every heart accompanying itnmr. Hargrove's smirk faltered once again. "What do you know about business? About success?" He barked, but his words dripped with insecurity that even he couldn't fully mask. "I know what it's like to find purpose beyond profits," Marcus said, his voice steady. "True success isn't looking down from a throne. It's working shoulder to shoulder with those you consider beneath you. The statement echoed like a thunderclap. Lila's eyes sparkled with admiration, feeling both relieved and emboldened. "Dad, can you see?" she pleaded, stepping beside Marcus. "There is so much more to life than money." For the first time, Sarah noticed a shift in Mr. Hargrove's body language. Something in his demeanor softened, and the air thickened. Was it doubt? Regret? Just then, someone from the back of the diner called out, "You can't throw stones from your glass house, Mr. Hargrove." That comment stirred the crowd, laughter bubbling up mixed with collective warmth. Was the billionaire finally beginning to feel the weight of his actions? As the moments unfolded, everything felt in flux. Choices hung in the air as palpable as the pie cooling. Would Mr. Hargrove embrace a new perspective, or was this moment just the beginning of further conflict? The atmosphere was charged, hearts racing with possibilities, yet no one knew just what would come next. Would change blossom today, or would they simply remain a whisper over warm coffee? All eyes were fixed on an unraveling story, still waiting to take its next steps into the unknown. Marcus stood taller, a quiet strength radiating from him. The laughter echoed off the diner walls, slicing through the tension that had clung like a shadow. He could feel the weight of every gaze, the hopes of his past and present intertwining. "Simon, Dad," Lila exclaimed, her voice brimming with impatience. "You can't just bully us into submission. You don't own this town." There was fire in her eyes, a reflection of the same spirit Marcus had once admired. Mr. Hargrove's mouth twisted, surprise mingling with anger. For years, he ruled this town like a king, and here in this humble diner, he was being challenged not just by Marcus, but by his own daughter. "You think you know better? You've always been soft-hearted, Lila. That's your problem," he sneered, but it felt weak, his usual venom dulled. Sarah watched, her heart pounding. Lila was right. They had all learned to be resilient. She stepped forward, her voice steady and firm. "What is the point of success, Mr. Hargrove, if you can't share it? These people are your neighbors, not your subordinates. They deserve respect." That struck a nerve. Mr. Hargrove's eyes flickered. It was a haunted expression, like he was staring at memories he wasn't ready to confront. "Yeah, what do you know about us, huh?" Someone else called out from the back. A man with calloused hands who'd been working in the community for decades. "You just come around when it's convenient." In this moment, Marcus broke through the renewed tension. "Listen, everyone," he said, lifting his hands to draw attention. "This isn't about winning a fight or taking sides. It's about coming together." A collective silence fell over the diner, curiosity and caution blending in the air. "We're all people here. We've shared food, laughter, love, and loss. I came back because this place made me who I am. I want to help it thrive, not tear it apart. So, let us not waste this moment," he continued, each word carefully chosen, designed to summon emotion. The crowd started to murmur, slowly shifting in their seats, reminded of what their small town had been built upon. Sarah felt a warmth surge in her chest. "Change doesn't come from silence," Lila added, passion igniting her features. "If you really care about this town, Dad, let us talk. Let us do things differently." Mr. Hargrove's jaw clenched. The silence stretched on, tension dancing in the air, and yet beneath it was something else. Possibility. Maybe he started, but the words stumbled out, unsure. It was as if he were grappling not just with what to say, but with a lifetime of choices. "Maybe what?" Marcus urged gently. "What is it that you want?" For a heartbeat, the diner felt suspended in time, the past reaching into the present, demanding to be acknowledged. Sarah watched Mr. Hargrove wrestle visibly with his defenses, uncertainty breaking through the tough exterior. But as the silence continued, the moment felt precious, as hope tethered itself to their shared humanity. There it was, right before them, a choice. Would Mr. Hargrove finally step into the light, or would he retreat back into shadows he once cast upon others? Before anyone could breathe out, the front door swung open, and in walked a figure with a familiar face, someone from Marcus's past, a ghost of old times that might just change everything again. What secrets lurked behind this new arrival? The door swung wider, and the jingle of the bell announced the newcomer before they even stepped inside. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. It was Jenna, his childhood friend, the girl who had moved away years ago, taking a piece of his heart with her. She stood there, wide-eyed under the neon lights, uncertain but undeniably present. "Jinnah," he whispered, the name escaping like a prayer. A few of the locals turned to stare, recognition blossoming in their expressions. This wasn't just another customer. She was woven into the fabric of their shared history. Mr. Hargrove's scowl deepened, and the tension in the diner escalated again. His anger at being challenged wasn't dissipating. Instead, it was matched now with confusion and perhaps a sliver of fear as he recognized the girl who once held his daughter's heart. "Hi," Jinnah finally said, her voice small and shaky. She looked around, taking in the faces. There were people she had known as a child, some she had hoped to forget. I heard there was a meeting here." Marcus stepped down from the small raised area where he had been standing to face her more fully. "You came back," he said, trying to hide the swirl of emotions. He hoped for the little spark of nostalgia that wasn't lost to the years and distance. Lila hesitated, torn between her father's oppressive energy and Jinnah's comforting presence. "What do you know about the meeting, Jinnah?" she asked sharply, clearly looking for a reason to incorporate Jinnah's unexpected entrance into their discussion. I remember a lot about this town. I used to think it was perfect." Her eyes fell to the floor, fighting tears. "But I also remember how it felt to want to leave, to escape. What happened to it all?" Marcus reached for her arm, squeezing gently, letting her know she was not alone. "We're trying to change it. Trying to make it better for everyone together," he said, addressing both her and the crowd. Mr. Hargrove took a step back, almost as if admitting defeat to the unexpected gathering of strength. The people around them began whispering, their emotions shifting again, their hope growing in the wake of unexpected reunions. "What do you want, Jinnah?" he finally asked, his tone a shade softer, searching. She swallowed hard, gathering the remnants of courage. "I want to help," she said loudly enough that the din of conversations quieted again. "I've seen what a community can do when they come together. I saw it in the city, and I believe you can feel that here too." At this, someone in the back clapped, followed by another. Soon, a ripple of applause moved through the diner. Jinnah looked around, astonished and yet comforted. In that moment, she became more than just a voice from the past. She embodied the possibility of what could still be. The unity in the diner began to conceptualize itself again. Marcus felt a swell in his chest, pride mixing with pumping adrenaline. "Together," Lila echoed, the spark in her eyes now reflecting Jinnah's determination. "We can figure this out. Right, Dad?" Mr. Hargrove hesitated, the wall around his heart quaking just a bit more. Yet, the conflict churned behind his steely gaze. But Jinnah took a step forward, locking eyes with him. "People need your leadership, Mr. Hargrove, but not your domination. If you really want to help this town, maybe it starts with listening starting now." Silence hung once more, a weighty shroud that promised confrontation or transformation. Marcus dared to look at Lila and Jinnah, and then back to Mr. Hargrove. The room was electric with the energy of possibility, everything felt on the brink, begging for a push. What choice would the old king of the town make in the face of this vibrant hope? Would he choose to fight, or finally reflect and listen? As the air thickened with anticipation, the door swung open once more, but this time, the figure was different, menacing a storm brewing on the horizon. What could this new arrival bring to the fragile moment they had created? The door creaked as it swung open, pulling everyone's gaze away from the electric moment shared between Jinnah and Mr. Hargrove. In stepped a tall figure, dressed in a tailored suit that clung to his form like armor. Ray Kingston, the town's wealthy and ambitious businessman, known for his ruthless tactics and cold demeanor, had a reputation that sent shivers through the diner. With an air of confidence, he approached the group, his eyes flicking first to Mr. Hargrove, where a spark of recognition flashed. "Well, if it isn't the town's self-proclaimed savior," he sneered. His voice dripped with disdain as he regarded Jinnah. "And who is this? Another one of your nostalgia-fueled dreams?" The warmth that had surrounded Jinnah and Marcus now felt chilled, a wave of caution washing over everyone in the diner. Jinnah stiffened, her earlier courage faltering under the weight of Ray's judgment. Marcus clenched his fists, ready to defend her. "Ray, now is not the time," Mr. Hargrove said, his voice strained. The tension in his stance spoke volumes. He didn't want to battle old ghosts now, especially when things were beginning to change. Ray smirked, his gaze sweeping over the crowd, taking in their anxious expressions. What are you all hoping to achieve? A little legacy left behind by some past his prime leaders? You can't fix what's broken just by wishing for it. Stop it, Lila said, cutting through the tension. She stepped forward, her voice steady. This is about the future of our town. We want to work together for change. Ray let out a laugh, one that rang out harshly against the diner's soothing atmosphere. Change? You think you can just will it into being? He scoffed. The world doesn't operate on dreams and reunions. It thrives on power, money, and influence, none of which you have. His words stung, wrapping around the room like a thick fog. Some locals exchanged glances, uncertainty flickering in their eyes, while a few whispered behind cupped hands. But Marcus felt an internal fire igniting, steadying his resolve. He turned to Jenna, who was visibly shaken. You can't let him shake your belief, he urged quietly. Marcus is right, Jenna added, drawing in a shaky breath. Ray may have power, but we have something stronger: hope and the will to create a better community. Hope doesn't pay the bills, sweetheart, Ray replied condescendingly. Dreamers like you only get hurt in the end. His smirk deepened, relishing in his own cynicism. Suddenly, the diner's atmosphere shifted. Murmurs spread like wildfire, igniting a spark of courage among patrons who had remained silent. The realization that they had been living under Ray's shadow for far too long began to sink in. It's not just about money, a voice from the back called out. It's about our homes, our families, and our future. Another chimed in. Ray, we deserve more than your empty promises. Lila's eyes shone with emotion as she glanced from her father to Jenna. She knew this was the moment to stand firm. You're wrong. This town has heart, and it always will. That can't be bought or sold. Heart won't save you when the reality hits, Ray retorted. Nothing could prepare them for the roar of applause that erupted in response, drowning out his voice. It surged like a tidal wave through the diner, lifting spirits and drowning fear. With every clap, with every cheers of support, his confidence unraveled. In that moment, Jenna joined in, raising her hands high, urging everyone on. The energy became palpable, igniting the courage inside each person present. They would not be silenced. Marcus felt his heart racing, hope blossoming within him anew. We're stronger together, he shouted, and the noise swelled at the words, echoing off the walls. But just as the atmosphere threatened to explode with fervor, Ray stepped back, his expression hardening. You'll regret this, he spat, rage simmering beneath the surface. As he turned to leave, Jenna knew they'd only begun to scratch the surface of a larger battle. She felt a shift inside her, a newfound resolve. What is next? She wondered, feeling the warmth of those around her. But Marcus found his voice, and what he said next would set them all on a path that could change everything forever. The diner's energy hung thick in the air, the echoes of applause still vibrating off the walls. Ray's departure, a tense gesture of defeat, left a void, but the buzz of excitement energized the crowd. Jenna's heart raced, ignited by the swell of support around her. This was more than a moment. It felt like a turning point. Can you believe that just happened? Lila exclaimed, her eyes wide with a mix of disbelief and exhilaration. We can really do something. We actually made him leave. Jenna forced a grin, still shaken but filled with an unfamiliar strength. I didn't expect it to go that way. I thought Ray would laugh and walk away, just like he always does. Marcus, filled with unwavering determination, stepped closer to Jenna. That's just the beginning, Jenna. We've got more than just a moment of defiance. We've got a movement. His confidence was infectious. The chatter grew louder in the diner, a chorus of voices filled with determination. Old friends were reconnecting, sharing ideas, and the fear that had shackled them began to melt away. People stood around the tables, sharing the burdens they'd kept silent for too long: fears about wages, dreams of starting new businesses, and hopes for the younger generation. Jenna felt her heart warm as she listened to them. The stories were not just cries for help. They were dreams that could breathe life back into the community. We have to keep this momentum going, she urged, her voice rising above the crowd. What can we do? How do we make sure Ray doesn't just stomp on our dreams again? I think we should hold a town meeting, Lila suggested, her enthusiasm tangible. Let us gather everyone and make it official. Show them we aren't afraid to stand up for what we want. Marcus agreed, nodding fervently. That's a great idea. We need a plan, and we need to bring everyone into the conversation. Everyone deserves a voice. At that moment, the diner's walls felt like they were closing in with possibility. A lady in her 50s chimed in with a soft voice. I've lived in this town my whole life. We used to have community events, fairs, cleanups, and celebrations. We should bring that spirit back. Jenna's eyes sparkled as her thoughts raced. We can start small, but make it meaningful. What if we held a community picnic to bring everyone together? Food trucks, music, games, something to celebrate us, and show Ray that he can't take away our spirit. A wave of agreement rippled through the room, and the sense of camaraderie lifted spirits higher. They began brainstorming, voices overlapping in excitement. Jenna felt a pulse of hope stir again, sparking tentative dreams within her. As they built their plan, time drifted away unnoticed. Laughter spilled across the tables, uplifting conversations filled the space, and for the first time in a long while, Jenna felt connected not just to her friends and neighbors, but to something larger than herself. However, underneath it all, a flicker of concern remained. While they were planning their campaign for change, Ray's warning still echoed in her mind. You'll regret this. She swallowed hard. It was clear he wouldn't take this lightly. Turning to Marcus, Jenna caught his eye, sharing a silent understanding. They had ignited a flame of hope, but they were marching into a battle against someone who would stop at nothing to maintain control. Let us do this, she said, her voice steady. But as they finalized their plans, a chilling thought crossed her mind. What lengths would Ray go to in order to regain his power over the town? For better or worse, the real fight had only just begun. Morning lights spilled into the diner, warming the faces of those gathered around the tables. It felt like a fresh start, a new day of possibility. People buzzed with excitement, their voices rising in a hopeful cadence. Jenna sat at the center of it all, her stomach nodding with a mix of excitement and nerves as she prepared for the town meeting ahead. Do you think anyone will actually show up? Lila asked, her eyes darting around the room, her excitement tinged with anxiety. Of course they will, Marcus replied confidently, leaning forward. This isn't just about us. It's about everyone who has felt ignored. We're giving them a chance to speak up. Jenna nodded, feeling a surge of hope. They had spread the word through social media, flyers, and even word of mouth. She could already envision families walking through the doors, curious and yearning for connection. The moment arrived quickly, as if on cue. The doors swung open, and people shuffled in one by one. At first, it was hesitant, shy smiles and unsure glances, but as the diner filled, an electric energy crackled in the air. The sheer number of people was a testament to their collective frustration and hope. Welcome, everyone, Jenna called, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. Thank you for coming. We're here to build something together, something the town needs. The chatter softened as eyes settled on her, faces filled with anticipation. A feeling of unity spread through the space, wrapping around Jenna like a warm blanket. She glanced at Marcus and Lila, both nodding supportively as the meeting progressed. Stories spilled forth. A father spoke about the difficulty of finding work that paid enough to support his 2 kids. An elderly woman shared memories of the town fairs that used to bring everyone together. With each voice, Jenna felt the weight of their struggles, threaded together with hope. But amid the warmth, the shadow of Ray loomed large. As conversations interwove, a mix of doubt crept in. What if he decided to come back with a vengeance? The vision for a vibrant community felt desperately fragile. Jenna? A familiar voice broke through her thoughts. It was Amy, a waitress from the diner. She looked determined, yet slightly shaken. I heard Ray has been talking behind our backs, claiming he will ruin us if we don't back down. He's a bully. Jenna felt a chill race down her spine. That wasn't just idle chatter. We can't let him silence us. We have to show him we won't back down, she asserted, her voice rising above the murmurs. Feeling the strength of the room supporting her, she continued, we need to be loud enough that he can't ignore us. The crowd rippled with agreement, and the excitement surged once more. Ideas bounced off one another as they planned protests, petitions, and community outreach. It felt like an unstoppable force, each person in their own way contributing to this awakening. As the meeting drew to a close, Jenna wiped sweat from her brow, her heart racing with adrenaline and hope. They had galvanized their community, igniting a fire that couldn't easily be put out. And yet, the knot in her stomach remained. Walking home that evening, the sun dipping low in the sky, she couldn't shake Amy's words. Ray was almost certainly plotting his counterattack, his threat hanging in the air like a storm cloud. Are we really ready for what is coming? She whispered to herself, feeling the weight of uncertainty creep back in. In that moment, she knew the fight was far from over. The real challenge lay ahead. The question lingered. Would they have the strength to face Ray, or would his power prove too great? The answers were yet to come as darkness loomed on the horizon. The next morning was gray and cold, the sky heavy with clouds that threatened rain. As Jenna poured her first cup of coffee at home, every sip felt like an act of defiance. The day stretched out ahead of her, filled with various tasks that seemed trivial compared to the burgeoning battle with Ray. Only a few hours had passed since the meeting, but it felt like days. Jenna, her mom called from the living room. You've got to see this. Dread pooled in Jenna's stomach. The last time her mom used that tone, it meant something was either broken or headed for chaos. She placed the mug down and walked toward the living room, bracing herself. On the television, the local news was reporting on the previous night's meeting. The camera zoomed in on a happy crowd eagerly discussing plans, smiles beaming from faces she recognized. But then, the tone shifted. An anchorwoman began recounting Ray's response. In a statement issued this morning, billionaire Ray Montgomery criticized the efforts of the townspeople, saying their voices amounted to nothing more than a bunch of noise from a community that should know its place. Jenna's heart sank. Bitter anger welled up inside her. He was trying to silence them, trying to push them back into the shadows. It was an insult, an underestimation of everything they worked for. Can you believe that guy? Her mom exclaimed, fists clenched in indignation. Who does he think he is? I don't know, Jenna replied, feeling the heat rise in her chest. But we can't just take this lying down. We need to hit back, and hard. At the diner that afternoon, the usual upbeat atmosphere was tempered by somber faces. News of Ray's statement spread quickly, casting a pall over the once excited gathering in the diner. Yet beneath the sorrow, determination flickered in the eyes of the patrons. Marcus stood up on a chair, confronting the crowd. This isn't just about us anymore. This is about standing up against bullying, against anyone who thinks they can dismiss us. We're stronger together. The room filled with murmurs of agreement, but Jenna felt the weight of doubt creeping back in. Yes, they had each other, but Ray had power and resources they couldn't match. I say we hit the streets, Lila suggested suddenly, her eyes glinting with enthusiasm. A rally. Let us take a stand. Let him see that we're not just a bunch of noise. Tension crackled in the room as ideas soared like wildfire. Banners, chants, organizing roles. The atmosphere was electric. Jenna felt the spark ignite within her. Each conversation lifted her spirits. This was more than just a response. They were creating a movement with faces she recognized, and many who felt just as passionately about their town. Let us show Ray we want to be painted into a corner, Jenna said, her voice rising. Let us give ourselves a voice he can't ignore. As the crowd erupted in applause, she felt a sense of warmth spread through her. But the buzz lingered, a dual-edged sword of excitement and apprehension. That evening, back at home, Jenna stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. She could almost hear Ray's words echoing in her mind, mocking her resolve. And with it came the certainty that their upcoming rally would either fortify their community or expose the chinks in their armor. Was she truly ready for the backlash that Ray would surely unleash? The question loomed large, tightening her chest. As Jenna prepared for bed, her mind raced with images of what might come next. Would their voices pierce through his defenses, or would they falter under pressure? What if the rally backfired, turning opportunistic eyes against them? The stakes had never felt higher. Tomorrow would be the turning point, or the end of their fight before it truly even began. Would they rise or fall together? The crowd gathered outside the diner, buzzing with anticipation. Banners fluttered in the breeze, bright colors splashed against the gray sky. Jenna stood at the front, flanked by Marcus and Lila, each face around her lit with determination. Today was the day they'd make their voices heard, show Ray and the world that they wouldn't be pushed aside anymore. Remember, everyone, Jenna called out. heart racing with a mix of excitement and fear. This is about unity. Let us keep it positive and show them who we really are. Her words ignited cheers that rose like a wave. Confidence rippling through the crowd as the rally took shape. A wave of solidarity pulsed through Jenna. Familiar faces mingled with new ones, friends, neighbors, even strangers who felt the sting of dismissal in Reyes' words. She saw Emily at the edge of the crowd, crayon still in hand, her little drawings rolled up for display. "I'm with you, Mommy." The small voice echoed, a sweet reminder of why this battle mattered. They marched down the street, voices rising in chants. "We are strong. We are loud. We're not backing down." The energy was infectious. Jenna felt the rhythm of hope and resistance fill the air. It was electric. But in the distance, a dreaded sight loomed. Reyes' sleek car pulled up, his cold gaze surveying the scene with disdain. Jenna's heartbeat quickened, and worry gnawed at her stomach. Would he come out swinging? "Keep going," Marcus urged, grounding her with his strength. "This is our moment." As Ray stepped out, the chatter faltered. A nervous hush swept through the crowd. He raised a hand, and the crowd collectively held its breath. Well, he began, a smirk on his lips tinged with arrogance that fired up every nerve in Jenna. "Look at this parade of misplaced hope. Shame on you," Lila shouted from the front row, fierce and undaunted. "We're here to say enough is enough." The crowd surged with her words. The weight of their struggles transformed into collective resilience. "You undervalue us, Ray." Jenna found her voice rising above the crowd. "You think your money makes you powerful, but our strength is in our community. We will not be silenced." Reyes' expression flickered, irritation and disbelief clashing within him. People around Jenna cheered, emboldened by her words, unyielding now that they awakened each other's courage. In that moment, she felt like a warrior. Ray cleared his throat, leveling his gaze at Jenna. "You think this makes a difference? This town is mine to control." His arrogance cut like a knife, but the crowd stood firmer. "People know where true power lies." "No," shouted a voice, an elderly resident whose hands were worn from a lifetime of labor. "We know our worth and the worth of this community. We'll fight for it together." The intensity in the air shifted again. Reyes' dismissive tone struggled against the burgeoning tide of camaraderie and strength around Jenna. Was he beginning to feel the impact of their united voices? "Stand down, Jenna," Ray warned, his voice suddenly heavy with menace. "You haven't seen what I can do when pushed." His threat hung there, a dark cloud casting a shadow over their moment. But Jenna caught the supportive glance of her neighbors, the determination lighting their eyes, igniting something fierce and undeniable within her. "We refuse to let you intimidate us," she declared. "We're here for the town we love, and we will not back down." Ray opened his mouth to retort, but the crowd erupted. The voices surged with so much energy that it felt like a tidal wave crashing against his defenses. The realization cast a flicker of doubt across his face, a brief moment of vulnerability. She saw glimpses of struggle on his brow, revealing cracks in his arrogance. With the crowd rallying behind her, Jenna felt hope flutter within her heart. "We want to build something, create a future that honors everyone, not just the elite." Realizations washed through the crowd, and the fear that had once held them captive began to melt away under the light of shared determination. Murmurs of hope swelled into chants, creating a symphony of collective strength that rang out into the universe. It was a powerful moment, the kind of moment that could change everything. In that instant, Jenna was sure they were unstoppable. Change was brewing, and it was beautiful, raw, and messy, but so filled with love. Ray, unnoticed, took a step back, the confidence that once held him steady faltering as he faced the very community he'd underestimated. Whether he chose to listen or not didn't matter. They had said their piece. They stood unified. The sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm glow on the group. This wasn't just a protest. It was a celebration of resilience. It was everything they dreamed of, their hearts fuller with every echo of their united voices. Jenna glanced at Emily, her daughter's face alight with pride, and she felt warmth settle in her chest. She understood now this was more than standing up to Ray. This was about reclaiming their narrative, and together, they had forged a bond too strong to break. The crowd knew they wouldn't leave without a transformation, without making themselves heard. side by side. Together, they had lit a fire, and it wouldn't burn out. "Let us keep going," Jenna shouted, rallying their hearts together as the tide of community surged forward. It was just the beginning, and they were ready to fight for what they believed in forever. The echoes of their voices filled the streets, and underneath it all, a new dawn had begun to break. And you don't let this story end here. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread these powerful messages. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful story of hope. You need to support this channel. Let us keep the momentum alive. Don't wait, not even one more second.